When a woman is about to cheat, the first thing that changes isn't what she does with her body, it's what happens with her heart. The signs start small, almost invisible, until they build up into something you can't ignore. She begins to withdraw emotionally. The warmth in her voice fades. The light that used to shine in her eyes when she looked at you dims. Conversations that once felt endless now feel forced, rushed, or surface level. It's not that she's suddenly lost the ability to communicate. She's just no longer choosing to share her inner world with you. You'll notice it in the little things. She stops telling you about her day. She stops laughing at your jokes the way she used to. When you ask, "Is everything okay?" she says, "I'm fine," but you can feel that something's off. And the truth is, she's not lying. She is fine, just not with you anymore. Her emotions have started migrating elsewhere. Maybe it's not even another person yet. Sometimes it's just a fantasy of escape, a desire for something new, a hope that someone, somewhere, will see her, hear her, and make her feel alive again. A woman doesn't just wake up one day and decide to cheat. It's usually a slow unraveling. And before she ever touches another man, her loyalty has already started shifting in the quiet of her own thoughts. That withdrawal is her way of creating distance. It's her defense mechanism. Because it's easier to justify a betrayal when you've convinced yourself that the connection is already broken. She might tell herself, "He doesn't care anymore," or "We're just different people now." And instead of working through those feelings with you, she starts pulling back, protecting her heart even as she prepares to give it to someone else. You might try to get closer, you might ask questions, try to plan more dates, try to hold her tighter. But the more you reach, the more she recoils. Because now your affection feels foreign to her. It feels like a reminder of what she's lost rather than something to hold onto. And if you're not paying attention, you'll think it's just a phase, that she's just tired, stressed, busy. But deep down, you know better. Emotional cheating is where it starts. And it's just as powerful, sometimes even more dangerous than physical cheating. Because when a woman begins to invest her emotions outside the relationship, it creates a bond, a craving, a comfort that you no longer provide. And once she feels safe elsewhere, once she feels seen and understood by someone who isn't you, her heart starts making decisions her mind hasn't even caught up with yet. So if you sense that distance, if you feel that silence growing louder, don't ignore it. Don't chalk it up to mood swings or stress. A woman's silence speaks volumes. And by the time she's physically gone, she left you emotionally long ago. When a woman is about to cheat, one of the clearest signs is that she starts seeking validation outside the relationship. It doesn't always look obvious at first. It's not necessarily another man calling late at night or secret meetups. It begins with something more subtle, a shift in where she finds her sense of worth. You'll notice her becoming more active online, posting more pictures, paying closer attention to who's liking and commenting, responding to compliments with more enthusiasm than usual. She starts craving attention, but not yours. She wants to feel seen, wanted, admired, and when she no longer feels that from you, she looks for it somewhere else. Now, this isn't always conscious. She's not necessarily sitting down and planning to betray you, but emotionally something's missing. Maybe she feels overlooked. Maybe you've stopped complimenting her. Maybe you've grown so comfortable that you no longer notice the effort she puts in. And what happens when she no longer feels special in her own home? She looks to the world to remind her of her value. Whether it's a guy at the gym giving her a second glance, a coworker texting her more frequently, or an old friend sliding into her DMs, it all starts to matter more than it should. And here's the thing, women don't always cheat because they're unhappy with you. Sometimes they cheat because they're unhappy with themselves. But when they're with someone who doesn't see their worth, doesn't acknowledge their beauty, or doesn't remind them of who they are, the desire to be validated by someone else becomes dangerously tempting. That validation becomes a drug, and when she finds someone who gives her that high, it creates a doorway. Not every woman walks through it, but once the door is open, it's hard to ignore what's on the other side. You might think, "But I tell her she's beautiful," or "I'm always there for her." That's good, but it's not just about doing the right things. It's about how you make her feel. Do your words land, or do they feel routine? Are you present, or are you just going through the motions? Because someone else out there is waiting to make her feel like she's the only woman in the world. And if you've stopped making her feel that way, She might start listening to his voice instead of yours. This is why attention outside the relationship becomes so dangerous, because at first it feels harmless. It feels like just a conversation, just a compliment, just a moment. But those moments build. They grow into emotional connections, little secrets she starts keeping, little smiles she gives away to someone else, and before long, the connection between you and her has been replaced by a fantasy she's feeding with every like, every message, every conversation. That shouldn't be happening. By the time you realize she's looking for validation elsewhere, she's already started to forget how good it felt when your validation was enough. One of the most telling signs that a woman is about to cheat is when her routine suddenly starts to shift in ways that don't add up. At first, it might seem like nothing. She's just busy. She's got more work to do. She needs space. But if you're paying attention, you'll notice that the structure of her day, the way she moves, the time she spends with you, even how she responds to messages, begins to change, and not in the natural, evolving way life tends to move. These are abrupt changes, disruptions that don't come with clear explanations. She starts going out more, often without inviting you. She becomes vague about where she's going or who she's with. Suddenly her phone is always face down, always on silent, and she guards it like it holds national secrets. The comfort she once had around you, the openness, the transparency, it starts to fade. And when you ask her about her day, you don't get the details anymore. You get, "It was fine," or "Nothing much." Even though you know she was out for hours. It's not just what she says, it's what she's no longer willing to say. Women don't just change their routines for no reason. We're creatures of habit, especially when we're emotionally invested. When things start to shift, there's often an emotional undercurrent driving it. Maybe she's talking to someone new. Maybe she's not sure what she wants, but she knows she needs space to figure it out. So she creates that space, physically, emotionally, and in how she uses her time. You might notice she's dressing differently too, maybe putting in more effort when she goes out, even on casual outings. And yet, when you're together, it feels like she's no longer trying. That contrast should tell you something. She's prioritizing how she presents herself out there, not in the space she shares with you. And that shift, however small, reveals where her focus and energy are beginning to go. It's important to understand that these changes don't always mean she's already cheating, but they almost always mean something is happening internally, something she's not talking about, something that's pulling her in a different direction. And the danger is that once a new routine forms around secrecy or detachment, it becomes the new normal. That distance becomes a habit, and within that space someone else can step in, someone who's asking questions, who's listening, who's giving her something she feels is missing at home. What hurts most is not the change in schedule, the time away, or even the physical distance. What hurts is knowing that somewhere along the line, the rhythm you shared, the closeness, the shared routines, the comfort of just being in each other's space has been quietly replaced by something or someone else. You feel it in your gut before you ever see it with your eyes. By the time her routine changes, her priorities already have. When a woman is about to cheat, one of the most confusing signs you'll notice is that she suddenly becomes defensive, irritable, or even starts accusing you of things that don't make sense. This is the emotional smoke before the fire, the moment where guilt and inner conflict begin to show up in strange, unexpected ways. You might be doing everything right, staying loyal, staying present, and still find yourself being questioned, challenged, or blamed for things that have nothing to do with you, and it leaves you wondering, where is this coming from? It's projection. It's the mind trying to balance what the heart already knows is wrong. When a woman is flirting with the idea of stepping outside the relationship, she carries a kind of internal tension. Guilt starts to creep in. And guilt always looks for a place to land. So instead of taking responsibility, instead of sitting with that discomfort and owning it, she flips the script. She puts the spotlight on you. Suddenly, you're the distant one. You're the one she can't trust. You're the one who doesn't care anymore. And it works because it throws you off. It makes you question yourself. You start walking on eggshells, trying to fix things you didn't break. Meanwhile, she creates emotional distance, convincing herself that you're the reason she feels the way she does. That justification makes it easier to cross a line she wouldn't have dared to approach otherwise. Because now, in her mind, she's not betraying you. She's just doing what she had to do because you pushed her away. But here's the truth. When someone starts accusing without cause, picking fights over small things, or twisting your words just to create chaos, they are often trying to mask a bigger issue. Sometimes the person who is loudest about trust is the one who has already broken it. And you have to pay attention to how the tone of your connection changes. Does every conversation turn into an argument? Does she get defensive even when you're simply asking a question? Is she trying to win, or is she trying to understand? Because when someone wants to be with you fully, honestly, and deeply, they look for peace, not problems. They communicate to connect, not to deflect. But when a woman is preparing to cheat, she needs to disconnect. And sometimes the easiest way to do that is to start a fire, burn the bridge, and walk away feeling like she had no other choice. It's not always easy to spot, especially when you're emotionally invested, but don't ignore the shift. Don't downplay your own instincts just because you want to believe the best. If you feel like you're being pushed away, if the trust you built is suddenly under attack without reason, there's a good chance it's not about what you've done, but about what she's getting ready to do. By the time she starts accusing you, she's already started excusing herself. One of the most painful yet often overlooked signs that a woman is about to cheat is when physical intimacy begins to fade, or worse, becomes mechanical. And no, this isn't just about sex. It's about the energy, the chemistry, the warmth between two people who used to feel completely at home in each other's arms. The way she touches you changes. The passion that once came naturally now feels forced or missing altogether. There's no spark, no desire to connect on a deeper level, and even when you're physically close, it feels like there's a wall between you. When a woman starts emotionally detaching, it shows in how she holds you, if she holds you at all. You might go days or even weeks without intimacy, and when it finally happens, it feels more like an obligation than an act of love. She's there, but she's not present. Her body is close, but her mind is far away. And you can sense it, you can feel it in the silence afterward, in the lack of eye contact, in the way she rolls over and turns her back to you as if the connection didn't matter. It's not always because she's already with someone else, but because she's starting to give her emotional energy to something or someone that's pulling her away from you. And once that energy shifts, intimacy becomes harder to give. Because real physical connection comes from emotional safety, from vulnerability, from feeling close and secure. If she doesn't feel that with you anymore, she won't be able to fake it for long. She may start to avoid situations where closeness is expected. She's too tired, she's too stressed, she's not in the mood. And while all of these can be valid sometimes, when they become a pattern, they reveal a deeper truth. Because a woman who feels loved, seen, and desired will almost always want to reciprocate that affection. But a woman who's checked out emotionally or who's starting to bond with someone else will begin to distance herself in the one area that once defined your connection. This change doesn't just hurt your relationship, it hurts your confidence. You begin to wonder if something's wrong with you, if you're not attractive anymore, not exciting enough, not man enough. And that's exactly how the emotional erosion begins, one silent night at a time. But the truth is, her change in intimacy isn't about your worth. It's about her focus. It's about where her attention, desire, and emotional loyalty are drifting. The hardest part is realizing that the very thing that once brought you the closest, those moments of vulnerability, of passion, of connection, are now the clearest indicators that something is slipping away. And sometimes that distance says more than any words ever could. By the time the intimacy fades, the emotional connection has already been severed. There comes a moment, long before the suitcase appears at the door or a new name flashes on her phone, when a woman checks out in her mind. At first, it looks harmless. She grows quiet, spends more time lost in thought, stares past you while you're talking. What's happening inside is far from harmless, though. She's rehearsing a future where you play a smaller role, imagining conversations she'll never have with you, mapping out a life in which her happiness no longer depends on this relationship. Each scenario she plays in her head makes the idea of leaving feel less like a crisis and more like a relief. You might notice she's suddenly hard to reach, even when she's sitting right beside you. You ask a question and get a delayed, distracted answer. You try to share something exciting and she smiles politely, but her eyes reveal she's somewhere else entirely. When connection used to come easily, late-night talks, spontaneous laughter, now every exchange feels scripted, as though she's reading lines she no longer believes in. Her mind is already on tomorrow, while you're still holding on to yesterday. This mental departure often masquerades as busyness. She fills her calendar so there's less time for stillness, because stillness would force her to face the growing void between you. She says yes to every extra shift, every girls' night, every errand that keeps her out just a bit longer. The more occupied she is, the fewer awkward conversations she has to navigate. She may even present this newfound hustle as a positive change, ambition, self-care, independence, but beneath it all, she's insulating herself from the emotional weight of what she's planning. And in that vacuum of honest dialogue, she rewrites the story of the relationship. Small disagreements become proof that you're incompatible. Moments when she felt unheard morph into evidence that you never listened. She stacks these memories like bricks, constructing a wall that justifies her exit. It isn't that she suddenly dislikes you, it's that she's teaching herself to detach so the final step won't feel like a free fall. She needs that wall to avoid looking back. By the time you sense something is truly wrong and reach out, suggesting therapy, planning a weekend away, offering to talk, it may feel to her like an obligation rather than a lifeline. She'll nod, promise to think about it, but she's already convinced herself the chapter is finished. The emotional investment required to repair things seems too heavy compared to the lightness she imagines on the other side. You'll see it in the way she packs nostalgia away like an old photo album, neatly, carefully, but with no intention of opening it again. By the time she walks away, she's been gone for a long time.